The courthouse looms like a silent sentinel, its stone steps gleaming under the morning sun. Inside, the air is thick with anticipation, a tension that seems to vibrate against the polished walls. The faint hum of fluorescent lights mixes with the occasional shuffle of papers and soft whispers of those who have come to witness history unfold. The room is quiet, almost too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against the eardrums and makes every heartbeat thunder in your chest. Meri sits in the front row, her posture rigid, her hands clasping a manila folder, tightly enough that its edges are beginning to bend and wear. Her knuckles are white with the strain. Repeatedly, she looks toward the entrance, as if the secrets she has carried for years will walk through the doors before her. Her eyes were wide, glistening with a mixture of fear and determination. Today isn't just another court date. It's the culmination of years spent gathering evidence, sleepless nights piecing together fragments of truth. Across the room, Kody is pacing slowly, his polished shoes clicking sharply against the hardwood floor. He smooths his tie one last time and looks toward the jury, a thin smile plastered across his face. But the tight grip on the railing and tension in his jaw reveal a man on edge. Every step is measured, every gesture calculated. He knows that appearances matter, but this courtroom doesn't lie, and its walls have a way of hearing truths that even he cannot control. Christine sits back in her chair, arms crossed tightly across her chest. Her eyes are sharp, scanning the room, calculating every movement. She has always been an observer, the one who reads between the lines, senses when Kody's calm facade cracks. A small smirk touches her lips, one born of quiet satisfaction. This day might finally bring answers she has long suspected. Her mind is racing with possible outcomes, each more tantalizing and terrifying than the last. Janelle sits a few seats over, her hands folded in her lap, fingers twisting nervously. Her eyes rarely leave the floor, but her ears capture every sound. The shuffle of papers, the faint tap of a pen, the soft murmur of the spectators. Anxiety radiates from her like heat from a fire. She remembers all the whispered conversations, all the unspoken slights. Now all of it is about to come to light. Her chest tightens with fear and anticipation, the emotional pressure nearly unbearable. Robyn sits at the far end of the room, her exterior composed, as it always is. Still, even she cannot fully mask the storm beneath her calm. Every slight tremble of the hands, and every subtle gulp, hints at the concern and insecurity she harbors. She is acutely aware that what happens today may forever redefine her place within this fractured family. The bailiff's voice cuts through the room, commanding the court to order. The judge enters, her presence immediately filling the room, stern yet poised. Her eyes take in the scene with precision. Many a family dispute, betrayal, and emotional upheaval she has seen. But something about this case weighs differently. A storm waiting to erupt, contained only by the walls of this courtroom. She stands first, her movements very deliberate and controlled, though her hands quiver a little. Her voice is steady, carrying well around the room, though the slightest quiver gives away how she feels. This emotion, threatening to break through. "Your Honor," she begins, placing the manila folder carefully on the table before her. "Today, I bring evidence that will not only affect my life, but the lives of everyone in this family." These words hang in the air, heavy and loaded, like a prelude to a storm. Kody's jaw tightens, the mask of confidence wavering ever so slightly. Christine's eyes narrow, absorbing every word, every syllable. Janelle's fingers press into her palms, the white of her knuckles stark against her skin. Robyn inhales sharply, the composure she has held for years threatening to crack. The courtroom seems to hold its breath, waiting. The judge nods, her expression grave. Her voice, firm but controlled, cuts through the silence. "We will hear the evidence," she says, And I remind all parties that honesty is not optional in this courtroom. There is no room for deception here. Every word that is said now could have immediate consequences. Meri opens the folder, her hands shaking as she lays out documents, photographs, and other pieces of evidence. Each item is a fragment of a story that has been hidden for years. Text messages, financial records, private notes, and photographs, each piece meticulously collected, each piece telling a part of a narrative long suppressed. The room grows heavier with every item displayed. The air is charged, thick with anticipation, as if the walls themselves are holding on to the secrets about to be revealed. The first witness is called forward, a family friend who had been close to Kody, his voice initially hesitant, almost fragile. Yet each word he says has the weight of truth in it. He talks about private conversations, subtle manipulations, and emotive moments that have been kept away from the public eye. With every sentence, the tension ratchets higher, squeezing the room in an invisible vice. Meri watches intently, her eyes scanning faces, gauging reactions. Christine's lips are pressed into a thin line. Robyn's hands tremble slightly, hidden in her lap. Janelle's eyes dart nervously to the floor. Kody's confident demeanor falters. For the first time in years, the foundation of his carefully constructed life shows cracks. Outside the courtroom, the world keeps moving in oblivious rhythm. Inside, time seems to stretch because of tension. Every whisper, every cough, every faint shuffle of papers feels amplified. Each character handles the storm differently, some with control, others with fear, and some with barely contained rage. Meri next presents the photographs, each one chosen to represent a single piece of the puzzle. Faces taken at captured expressions, moments frozen in time, disclose the hidden truth behind relationships and motives, and how long ago deceptions had been committed. The photographs speak volumes without uttering a word. Even the judge scrutinizes them so thoroughly, while the members of the jury cannot help but do likewise, due to the solemnity of what they had seen. Kody shifts uncomfortably in his seat. His mask of composure slips in small increments, subtle but noticeable. Robyn usually exudes calmness, but now she clears her throat and shifts in her seat. Christine's eyes flash with a mixture of vindication and anger. Janelle's hands fidget with nervous energy. Each one serves as a window into the personal turmoil roiling beneath the surface. As the testimony unfolds, so do the alliances tested, and silent judgments passed around. Every glance, every slight movement, every suppressed reaction tells a story as compelling as any evidence on the table. The air is thick with tension. The first minor revelation to come shakes the room a spark in the powder keg, hinting at deeper conflicts and hidden betrayals yet to surface. Meri concludes this part of her presentation in a firm but measured tone. These are the truths we can no longer afford to ignore, she says, her tone unwavering, her eyes glistening with the emotion she has fought to hold at bay. The judge orders a brief recess. Slowly, everyone rises, the weight of the moment pressing upon their shoulders. Outside, the sun is reflected on the courthouse steps. But inside, hearts are racing, breaths are light, and secrets are waiting, ready to be cut loose. Every member of the family knows what's about to come may change their lives forever. The tension lingers like a storm cloud, heavy and dark, promising that nothing will be the same when the court reconvenes. The courtroom reconvenes after a tense morning recess. Now, the sunlight that streams through the tall windows seems harsh, cutting sharp lines across the polished floors and casting long shadows across anxious faces in the room. The air is heavier, charged with anticipation, as if it knows that something monumental is about to unfold. All can feel it in the room. The family, the attorneys, the judge, even the spectators. Something that will change everything is about to be revealed. Meri stands at the table, her fingers lightly touching the stack of documents she has laid out. Among them lies the first explosive revelation, a DNA report that, once disclosed, could irreversibly alter the family's perception of itself. She inhales deeply, steadying herself. This is more than evidence. It's the culmination of years of silence, of whispered suspicions, of moments no one else understood. Kody shifts in his seat, his hands tightening around the edge of the table. For a moment, his usual calm, calculated exterior falters. He forces a controlled breath, but a tension in his jaw belies the anxiety he feels. Christine sits forward, her eyes sharp, reflecting both curiosity and cold, simmering vindication. She has long suspected that things weren't as they seemed, and now she waits for confirmation. Janelle's hands fidget nervously in her lap, and Robyn sits with an almost imperceptible tremor in her fingers. The calm facade she has cultivated for years starting to crack. Meri lays the DNA report on the table deliberately, as if each second of silence before speaking adds weight to the impending storm. The judge picks it up, scanning the document with a serious, measured expression. The rise of her eyebrows is subtle, but the room notices it. Even she, experienced and unflappable, seems to recognize the gravity of what she holds in her hands. These results confirm. Meri starts off, her tone steady, yet laced with the underlying tension she has managed to restrain so far, that the family lineage is not exactly as it has been represented. She stops there, letting the weight of her words sink in. The room appears to grow tighter with the weight of the uttered words. Even the walls appear to lean in more closely, listening. Kody's eyes widen, his mouth opens, and then snaps shut. Christine's lips thin into a tight, controlled line. Robyn swallows hard, the shudder in her throat giving lie to her attempt at composure. Janelle's fingers dig into her palms, anxiety coursing through her. For a moment, the courtroom holds its collective breath. The first witness is called forward, a long-time family friend, loyal to Kody for years, but now being called under oath. They climb into the witness box, their hands shaking slightly, voice hesitant at first, but each word carries weight. They recall conversations, secret decisions, and subtle manipulations that have kept behind closed doors for years. With each sentence, the tension in the room climbs, almost suffocating. Every eye is fixed, every ear straining, every heartbeat syncing with the unfolding drama. Meri observes their testimony closely, studying reactions. Christine bends forward, her lips pressed tight, and her mind races through years of small details, finally fitting them together in a larger, undeniable pattern. Robyn's hands twist in her lap, her knuckles white. Janelle's eyes dart nervously, catching each nuance, each sigh, every pause. And Kody, once the picture of control, now shifts uneasily, the cracks beginning to materialize in those walls he had thought impenetrable. The witness presents a series of text messages, screenshots, and notes. Each one exposes hidden alliances and secret conservations that nobody was supposed to see. This sends the courtroom into an almost palpable silence. Even the judge leans forward, studying each message with due diligence, weighing its implications. These aren't minor inconsistencies. These are deliberate actions, decisions made in the shadows that could redefine relationships and trust within the family. The first is a minor revelation, a financial transaction that initially appears innocuous enough, but proves, upon closer examination, to be secretive and possibly deceptive. Gasps ripple through the onlookers. Kody swallows hard, his face pale but still composed enough to maintain a veneer of control. Christine's eyes gleam with quiet vindication. Robyn's fingers fidget nervously in her lap. Janelle exhales slowly, the tension ringing from her chest. Then comes the kicker. The witness hints at a private conversation, that implicates Kody in a decision that wasn't just financial. It was emotional, something that manipulated the relationships and trust within their family. A heavy silence befalls them. Nobody says anything. The room seems to shrink around them. Every movement, every breath, every suppressed reaction feels amplified. Meri takes a deep breath and continues, her voice unwavering, though her hands shake slightly, as she reaches for another piece of evidence, a set of photographs capturing moments previously thought private, conversations held behind closed doors, and small gestures that carry enormous implications. Each photo is more damning than the last, revealing micro-expressions, subtle smirks, hesitant glances, and betrayals that words alone could never convey. The recording is played. It's low quality, muffled, but unmistakably clear in its content. Private conversations, carefully hidden discussions, and emotionally charged exchanges fill the room. The tension is nearly unbearable. Kody's mask of calm shatters. His hand shakes slightly as he leans forward. Christine's eyes widen, a mixture of anger and vindication. Robyn swallows audibly, fighting to maintain her composure. Janelle presses her palms together, her body tense with anticipation and dread. Every observer in the courtroom feels it. The electric charge of revelation, betrayal, and emotional turmoil. The narrative is no longer just words. It's visual, auditory, and visceral. Each detail pulls the audience further in, capturing their attention, forcing them to witness the implosion of a family's carefully maintained facade. As the witness steps down, Meri closes her folder. Her eyes briefly meet the judge's. In wordless acknowledgement, it is clear that what has been revealed so far is only the beginning. The first domino has fallen, and the rest are poised, ready to cascade in a way no one in the room can foresee. The judge calls for a brief recess. All rise. Faces pale, expressions tight. Everyone is processing these revelations in their own manner. Outside, the steps of this courthouse shine so bright in the sunlight, but inside, hearts pound and minds race with questions and speculation. The tension lingers like a storm cloud, pregnant with the promise of more revelations, more confrontations, and more emotional upheaval. As all file out slowly, exchanging wary, calculating, and fearful glances, alliances are silently reconsidered. Trust has been fractured, and the emotional undertow of the evidence shown so far leaves no one untouched. It is now obvious. Nothing will ever be the same when court reconvenes. The courtroom reconvenes after a long, tension-filled lunch break. The sun is now positioned differently, casting sharp lines across faces, etched with anxiety and determination. The air is heavy now, almost stifling, as if it knows the storm of emotion that is about to hit. Every step and every whispered movement seems greatly magnified. Nobody remains untouched. The first to rise is Christine. Her chair scrapes softly against the polished floor as she rises in a tense posture. But there is a resolute strength in her stance. She breathes in and begins slowly, eyes scanning the room with precision. For years, she begins, voice steady but undercut by emotion. We've tolerated lies. Today, we confront them. The words slice through the thick silence, making the courtroom hang on her every syllable. Meri says nothing. Her lips pursed firmly together. She can feel the weight of Christine's words resound across her own chest. It is no longer just about proof of a legal nature, but the exposure of emotional truths, uncovering undercurrents of manipulation and betrayal that have threaded their way through their lives. Kody fidgets in his seat. For the first time, his controlled veneer cracks. He opens his mouth, then snaps it shut again as he realizes this time words won't protect him. The pressure that bears down upon him has never been applied before. His best defenses, rehearsed so well, feel fragile against this weight of truth and scrutiny. Robyn gets up slowly, hands pressed lightly together. Her voice, always so composed, cracks just a little as she speaks. "I never imagined it would come to this," she says, eyes glistening. "I only wanted stability. For my children, for all of us. But now." The sentence trails, swallowed by emotion, leaving a charged silence in its wake. The next witness is called Janelle, long the quiet observer in the family's complex web. She steps into the spotlight, visibly shaken but determined. Her testimony is raw, filled with vulnerability and fear. She recounts years of exclusion, whispered accusations, and subtle emotional manipulations. Each word hits like a hammer, echoing through the courtroom, making the spectators lean forward, unable to look away. As Janelle says this, the guarded glances between Christine and Robyn reflect a tenuous, uneasy truce. The unspoken bond of acknowledgement that they have been wronged is also a fragile tension, knowing any misstep could spark old rivalries. Every new revelation tightens up Kody's face. The walls of authority he had built around himself were crumbling, making him increasingly vulnerable to judgment from every corner. Then, the twist of twists, a hidden recording is pulled out. One nobody knew would ever see the light of day in court. The video reveals a private conversation, voices low but clear, with decisions and motives previously unknown that betray the trust of the whole family. The room gasps in unison. Kody's eyes widen. Christine stiffens her body, her jaw clenching. Robyn presses her palms together, silently fighting to hold on to composure. Even the judge leans forward, sensing the magnitude of what is unfolding. Meri watches as the video plays. Her emotions swell, vindication mixed with sorrow. With every frame of the recording, another layer of tension is pulled back, showing the fractures in relationships that have been hidden for so long behind carefully maintained masks. The photographs, texts, and messages presented earlier find context in these visual revelations. The courtroom is thick with energy that's nearly unbearable, a mix of shock, betrayal, and raw human emotion. It gets even more heated when another witness enters, a close confidant, previously overlooked, who sheds light on the emotional manipulation that has subtly controlled family dynamics for years. Their testimony gives dimension to a story, exposing not only acts of betrayal, but also the motivations behind them. Kody's composure visibly begins to crumble. The subtle trembling of his hands is no longer hidden. Christine's eyes flash with a mixture of anger and vindication. Robyn swallows hard, and Janelle's hands are trembling in her lap. Every revelation seems like a shockwave, ripples in the courtroom. Both the in-court and imagined audience can feel the tension, the fear, the betrayal. This is no longer just a legal proceeding. It's an emotional battlefield. Every glance, every word whispered, every reaction is part of the unfolding narrative. Meri continues to bring in more evidence. Photos and text messages revealing secret alliances, moments of exclusion, manipulations that paint a picture much larger than initially expected. The emotional weight is crushing. Every family member must confront not only their own actions, but also the actions of those they trusted most. The section builds up to a crescendo as the judge addresses the family, her voice piercing through the charged silence. The truths revealed here today are only the beginning. What you do with them will define the rest of your lives. Her words are calm but heavy, laced with the weight of the situation. The session ends with a cliffhanger, a sealed envelope, delivered from an unknown party to the judge, containing information that promises to unravel yet another layer of secrets. Everyone in the courtroom exchanges glances, suspicion, fear, and anticipation mingling in the air. The family instinctively knows that when the envelope is opened, the next chapter cannot be ignored. Outside, the sun's radiance is slightly tempered by the gathering clouds. Symbolic of the turmoil within, the steps of the courthouse shine in the change of light, But inside, hearts beat and minds race. The session comes to a close without words being said, an understanding that the tides of emotion have only just begun to rise, and the waves of revelation are far from over. The courtroom is colder the next morning. The sun cuts sharper, more unforgiving through the tall windows. Every face seems pulled tighter. Every movement is calculated. The tension from the previous sessions has not dissipated. If anything, it has grown heavier, pressing down on each member of the family like a storm cloud waiting to break. Meri stands at the table, folder in hand. The weight of what she is about to reveal makes her palms damp with nervous anticipation. Today, she brings evidence that goes beyond simple secrets. It's proof of deliberate manipulation and hidden agendas. A long-concealed communication from Kody with an outside confidant is laid bare, revealing choices made that have directly affected family relationships for years, undermining all trust in them. Christine leans forward, eyes narrowing, a flicker of rage and satisfaction dancing across her face. She has long suspected that Kody's decisions were not always in the family's best interest. Now the proof lies before everyone. Normally calm and composed, Robyn can feel her fingers pressing tightly into each other, betraying her anxiety. Janelle sits stiffly, absorbing every word. She knows these revelations will reshape everything she thought she understood. Kody stays seated, trying to retain composure, but his jaw tightens with each second. Even the slight trembling in his hands, nearly imperceptible, speaks volumes of his vulnerability, which he rarely lets anyone see. The courtroom is silent, but for Meri's steady, cutting voice, as she begins to reveal the depth of deception that has been hidden for years. Documents are given to the judge, emails, messages, and notes that indicate secret alliances and hidden motives. Each page forms a brick in a wall of evidence, increasingly damning. The courtroom seems to shrink under the weight of the revelations. Gasps echo softly. Whispers ripple through the spectators, and the family members are left grappling with the enormity of what has come to light. Robyn is called to speak. Her voice is soft, yet firm. She recounts private emotional manipulations, times her trust was used against her, subtle betrayals that were never meant to be exposed. She shares her perspective calmly, but it's impossible to mask the tremor in her voice. The room is captivated, drawn into her narrative, cognizant of the quiet pain endured behind closed doors. Then, a new witness comes forward, one close enough to the family's financial and personal matters, whose testimony points toward a web of secrecy far more complex than anybody could have guessed. The evidence presented suggests not only deception, but intentional misdirection moves, meant to obscure truths from the rest of the family, from those who trusted Kody implicitly. The judge leans into the bench, her expression unreadable, but the intensity of her gaze betrays the seriousness of the matter. "We will consider this evidence carefully," she states, her voice calm yet commanding, "and remind all parties that the truth has consequences." The letter gets handed to the judge, and the family members exchange glances filled with dread and anticipation. Meri's eyes widen. Christine's lips press into a thin line. Robyn bites the inside of her cheek, and Janelle's fingers clutch the armrest, as if it were a lifeline. Kody's face pales. His eyes dart around the room, searching for a solution, for a way to regain control of a situation spiraling beyond his grasp. The contents of the letter are explosive, a confession of actions that have betrayed not only trust, but emotional bonds. It implicates decisions made in secrecy, choices that reshaped relationships, and left scars that may never fully heal. The courtroom feels heavier, as if the air itself has thickened with weighty truth. Each person present is forced to confront what has been done and why it was done. Meri steps back slightly, letting the room absorb the impact of the letter. Each family member reacts differently. Christine's eyes narrow with simmering anger. Robyn's hands tremble as she presses them together for composure. Janelle's chest rises and falls with a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. And Kody's face is etched with tension, the carefully maintained mask of authority crumbling under scrutiny. The attorneys then begin their questioning, dissecting the letter and accompanying evidence. Their voices are even, analytical, but the content they discuss is anything but ordinary. Hidden motives, misrepresentations, and betrayals are revealed with surgical precision, leaving the family scrambling to respond. Every word spoken feels like a hammer to the walls of trust that once held the family together. The final witness of the day comes forward, someone who has been deeply privy to Kody's private decisions and the emotional consequences of those choices. The testimony is given with precision, carrying undeniably more emotional weight. The moments of manipulation, subtle coercion, and veiled motives place Kody in a light no one had expected. The room seems to shrink under the intensity of the words. The session closes on a moment of tense silence. The judge leans back against her chair, studying the evidence before her, her features in a mask of neutrality. Although the weight of her thoughts seems to bear down visibly, the family members are bolted to their positions, their faces reflecting the gravity of what they'd just heard. Outside, sunlight glints on the steps of the courthouse. But in here, the storm has barely begun. Emotions, trusts, and relationships hang by a thread, ready to further unravel during the course of the coming sessions. The atmosphere in the courtroom is taut, almost unbearable in its heaviness. Morning sun shines through the tall windows, sending shafts of sharp light dancing across the room. But it fails to warm the icy atmosphere that pervades it. Everyone is sitting straight-backed, their eyes fixed on the unfolding drama, each man and woman held between dread and anticipation. Nothing feels normal anymore. Trust had been shattered, alliances have shifted, and every glance exchanged carried accusations unspoken. Meri stands again, her posture composed, but her eyes show a mix of exhaustion and determination. Today, she lays out evidence of emotional manipulation unimaginable to any mind. Handwritten notes, private conversations, and subtle behavioral patterns are presented, all showing decisions made by Kody that affected each family member differently. The room grows quieter with every piece of evidence. The weight of truth presses heavily on each individual present. Christine leans forward, her sharp eyes scanning every page, every word. She has long suspected some of these hidden maneuvers, but seeing them laid out systematically, in black and white, brings both vindication and sorrow. Her lips press into a thin line, a mixture of anger and controlled frustration. She doesn't let her emotions spill over, but uses the intensity in her gaze to convey the storm in her soul. Today, Robyn's composure breaks further. Her fingers press tightly together as she speaks softly, recounting instances where her trust was misused. Her voice silenced, she shares quiet decisions and subtle manipulations that built invisible walls between herself and the others over time. With each measured word that escaped her lips, the mere quavering of her voice betrayed her emotional toll from years drawn through unspoken tensions. After that, Janelle speaks. Her words roll with emotion. She describes moments of abandonment and betrayal, when trust was exploited and loyalty tested. Her voice shakes at times, but her determination is evident. She points to subtle interactions, conversations, and decisions, describing how divided the family has really become. In such a suffocating courtroom, the audience experiences not just a criminal trial unfolding, but the breaking of the emotional bonds that have held this family together for so many years. Kody sits down, trying to compose himself, but little things give him away. The slight shaking of his hands, the shallow breaths, the flash of panic in his eyes. He tries to interject, but the judge politely yet firmly silences him and makes it clear that the court will not be swayed by emotional defenses alone. The courtroom, once a place of procedure, has become a stage for raw human emotion, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. The tension increases with the revelation of new evidence, photographs and private messages that point out the hidden alliances within the family. Christine and Janelle exchange a silent glance, a mix of realization and wordless understanding. Even in the midst of betrayal, they find themselves aligned, if only temporarily, against the emotional manipulations that have controlled their lives. Robyn observes warily, knowing that these shifting dynamics could put her in a position of vulnerability at any moment. Kody's control is slipping, and the courtroom can feel it. The judge calls for a short break to give everyone a chance to digest the intensity of the session. As the courtroom empties, the weight of the revelations remains with each family member. Meri sits in quiet contemplation, gathering her thoughts in preparation for the deeper truths to come in the next session. Christine remains composed, but her eyes have the weight of simmering anger. Robyn fidgets with nervous fingers, her mind racing over the possible outcomes of this case. Janelle exhales a slow breath, fortifying herself for what's to come. Kody's face is a mask of control, but the cracks are beginning to show. When the session resumes, the final bit of evidence is introduced. A hidden video never intended to see the light of day. It captures private conversations, subtle gestures, and moments of emotional manipulation that paint a fuller picture of the family's fractured dynamics. The room collectively reacts, gasps echo, eyes widen, and some of the spectators lean forward, unable to look away. Meri watches as the video continues to play, her emotions conflicted, vindication tinged with sadness. She realizes that sometimes the truth hurts, though it is what the family needs if they are ever to learn the reality of their situation. Christine's jaw clenches, Robyn's hands press together, and Janelle sits rigid, her eyes fixed on the screen. Kody's hands slightly quake. The facade he has built for so many years is crumbling. The session ends with a strained silence. The evidence brought to light today shows not only deeds, but also intent, she says, never removing her measured, weighted gaze from each family member. Each one of you will now have to mull over what these truths imply in your relationships and for your future. As the courtroom clears, the sun outside diminishes a little, and shadows stretch across the floor. The family goes out in small groups, whispers lingering down the corridors. Alliances are tested, loyalties questioned, and trust hangs by a flimsy thread. Outside, the world marches on, oblivious, while inside, lives have changed course irreversibly. Each member knows that the next session will be critical, and that the secrets yet to be disclosed will require accounting, reconciliation, and perhaps revenge.